And welcome. You are watching the Education Revolution live, happening right here, right now, in front of you. And I am so excited for this show because, number one, we are discovering and exploring the 6 first principles of education. And you should care because I spent half a year every day with 20 moderators and 4,000 Clubhouse members discussing what should be the principles if there was no education. What principles should the new education system, if we would create one, if you were tasked with one, what principles should it be built on? And we had philosophers, neuroscientists, and leaders in universities, as well as parents and students, come together to discuss this every day for an hour. Number two, afterwards, we are gonna have, first I'm gonna do this segment, then I'm gonna discuss a few things of the journey and where we are right now. And then we will welcome ROMY SIGL, the founder of the Coworking Space Salzburg and a new work expert, as well as an author and TEDx speaker, and a good friend of mine later in this live show. I'm very excited. As well as you, if you have any questions, you can post them, and either we will answer them today, or I will go through and answer each of you personally, or I will answer them in the next live show next Saturday at 20:00 Central European time. I'm really looking forward to the show. Now let's get this started. Okay, what are the 6 principles, and first off, why do they really matter? I really believe, so first off, 6 principles of true education. So what first off was true education? True education, for me at least, is number one, that you try to move further to, because I know that my opinion on this will change as I learn, as I educate myself. So part of it is going closer to objective truth. If you are very educated in building websites, you are moving closer towards knowing all about what it actually takes and how to actually build a website. And this is also the truth, not just in the form of knowledge, but also the truest action, meaning the most effective, the most efficient, and in my opinion, even the most beautiful action, because beauty has a certain truth to it. And if we look at education, we have to understand not just truth, but meaning. And meaning is really created through understanding often, but also through connection, through story, because story builds connection. And that is already where we go to the first principles. So true education is really an education that not just moves you closer to the truth, but actually expands your view so you can see all the different kinds of truth, looking at that objective truth, and can then choose from that position of perspective what focus and what meaning you want to take towards that truth and towards that deep understanding of reality. And yeah, now that is pretty high up there, but I hope you understand what I mean. I don't mean education in the sense of you get great grades. So what is the first principle? And also the goal of education is basically to help human beings flourish for millennia and throughout generations. That actually goes towards the second principle. Now let's finally goddamn start with the principles. So the first principle is, and what it always comes down to, I even thought about making the whole video about this one thing, because every single principle is so freaking important, but this one is, I think, the most important thing, and maybe also the key for human flourishing, or at least one of the most important ones. and it encompasses two things, but the word that describes it is connection. Connection meaning, for one, human to human connection, because that creates that kind of that creates that that ooh, I need to turn this down. Thoughts pop into your mind and you instantly want to act on it. So connection first between human beings, because that creates meaning and that creates importance of what you learn. And without knowing why you need it, why it's meaningful, you won't want to learn it. By the way, we still have 13 minutes left. That's how I keep track. And also the connection between the known and the unknown, meaning you are trying to create connections by going into the unknown and then figuring out, oh, this is interesting. This belongs to the thing I learned over there. And then you created a connection. If you wanted to understand the universe, and you have no clue about the universe, the best way you can explain it to someone is maybe through if it's a if it's a orange seller, you can explain it through oranges. And that's also I'm kind of reminded of Jesus, and I'm not really religious, but Jesus didn't go to the fishermen and tell them, hey, I'm gonna tell you how to sell people or convert people or whatever. He told them, I'm gonna tell you how to fish human beings. Basically, that's a line in the Bible. And what he did is using something that they know and related it to something that they don't know. So then they understand and created true learning. So the second principle that one needs to follow, and connection also means relationships in the sense of relationships that are challenging and continuing to grow you, but not like often you get challenged, but not without the base, and that base is also super important of understanding and warmth. So challenge on a base of understanding and warmth, that I think are the best relationships that actually grow you, educational relationships, and often they are unhealthy in today's society, because they are either not at all challenging and super permissive, or they are even more often challenging but actually not understanding you at all and not identifying and who you are. So the second big, and those are the personal principles. Second big one is long term. Often in education right now, we only learn to the next test, and then you learn to the next test, and you forget half, and it needs to be figured out how we can learn long term. And there are two principles from neuroeducation, neuroscience, that we can know. Number one is in order to understand something long term is the phrase, or in order to learn really anything, you need to understand why you learn it. And it's good to have some sort of a semblance of connection already established, that like understanding the reason behind it. So it's best to do something real. And number two, and that is the neuroscience standard sentence, it's for neurons, neurons that fire together grow together. So you need to activate as many neurons as possible by actually doing it, teaching it, or having an emotional experience with the thing that you learn. And then you can actually learn something for the long term, and you make a much greater impact. And then the third principle is really the principle of freedom. Yes. So the freedom is really what we all aim towards. And freedom could be also described in that sense of being self-sufficient, being able to freely think, freely decide for yourself. Education shouldn't be about teaching some doctrine and then that even if that doctrine makes you super successful, it's not even all about helping you achieve success or even happiness necessarily. It's really about giving you the freedom to think for yourself and to feel for yourself and to have all the information and perspectives you need so you can make that so you can freely make that decision for yourself and you choose your freedom and success and whatever else you want and the happiness that you want. And then you are also free to create anything that you really want. Education is about giving you as much freedom as possible by also helping you to become organized and all these other things while giving you information and knowledge and truth and skills and so on. Now, the system principles. If we would create a system, an education system, the foundation it needs to be built on is really important, and those three principles. So these were three principles that all education should follow for the personal one, but the system should A, be founded on the principle of Kaizen. That is a Japanese concept that basically just says constant and never-ending improvements. And what is really relevant, there's a lot of schools out there that started great, but then they didn't adapt to the time that we were in and the people that were there and the scientific breakthroughs that we had and the deeper understanding of how the human brain works. And then they kind of, yes, they were still founded on something great, but they didn't keep evolving and didn't keep developing. And that's why Kaizen is such an important concept. Do buy books on it, read it, because it can also really help your own life. In fact, all of these principles, if you value connection first, if you think long term, if you aim towards freeing your thinking, and you constantly improve and do the last two as well, it will also improve your own life while helping you think about how education should be. Now, the second principle should be, it should be for all ages, yes, because education doesn't start before you're born and ends probably after you die, but around that time, I guess. And the second, and it's much more important what you're interested in and how mature you are and how experienced you are in that specific subject, not as much about what you think should be the like, it's not so much important to put people into classes of different ages or something, but rather how they would naturally attract each other. And that is the best way to select. And it should be available for all, meaning also all subgroups and poor people, rich people. And that also means it needs, yes, I'm talking to alternative and private education people, it needs to be as free as possible. And I do have some ideas there, but it's really hard. I know you have to compete against the government, basically, but you're doing a great job. But you do also need to remember challenge and understanding at the same time. And challenge is often for alternative education a really big challenge sometimes. Not, of course, always. I'm sometimes generalizing, of course. Now, the last one is, and I talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about long-term thinking, but it's mastery. Mastery really means, and there's a great program called Mastery Learning where people try to not tell people, hey, you've got this test and this test and this test, but instead they mapped out, hey, where do you want to be? And then what are milestones along the way, and you were just reaching all those milestones until you reached the place you wanted to be. And it doesn't matter how long you necessarily take, you just want to go there, and that is what matters. And you're not, and if some milestones take longer and others shorter, that's all right. And basically, math, for instance, I promise you, most math teachers that are teaching in a higher class know it's almost useless to teach math, because some people have so many basically holes in the knowledge because they always tested and then forgot what they learned or didn't pass even, and then they didn't go back and learn these things that they didn't understand, and then everything else builds upon it, and then they can't understand the higher end concepts, and then you are screwed. And other people just get it because they have the foundation, but then you can't teach as fast as they need to learn. So you need to learn towards mastery and towards actually truly understanding. And I have like 2 minutes left, and I'm just going to use that time to tell you to bring to use these principles to reason up, because what we did, we were breaking everything down and thought about, okay, what should be the foundational principles, and what are the principles behind these principles. Like from long-term thinking, there were even principles behind that. But you now try to imagine a world where you reasoned up, if we followed those principles, if you followed those principles, how would your world look like? How would your life look like? Go through it again. What are the principles? And if you followed them, how would you have to adapt your days in order to follow them? And how would we as a society have to adapt education? And feel free to dream about what education could be if we followed those. Because those dreams, those what ifs, are the most powerful freaking thing that we as human beings can do. And that's where all the innovation comes from. And Kaizen is basically just saying, innovate, keep innovating. So, go with it. Now, we are pretty on time. So, next topic. I would later have some sort of scene vibe or something, but now we're just gonna start there. And I also try to follow these principles, and I promise you, next time I will try to be at least 1% better than this show next Saturday, 20 CET. So I will probably have a wipe here. And the next segment is documentation. I want to quickly document where we are on that journey of revolutionizing education, what happened till now. And I don't just want to share what happens in my life, but I want to highlight different people that are doing amazing things, and basically keep you up to date on what is happening in the education revolution live. That's the title of the show. Okay, I'm so sorry. Now, quickly, there's so much that I want to share with you, but there are amazing things happening in the world of education revolution right now. When I was talking about mastery, I really was thinking a lot about Khan Academy. Do watch Salman Khan's talk of Khan Academy, Salman Khan's talk on TEDx. Later we will have a TEDx speaker, ROMY SIGL, in the house, if everything works out. And he has a great talk about how mastery works, and he actually founded an academy. First, he did the whole online Khan Academy system where you can basically learn anything, and it's being translated in every language right now. And you can help translate those videos, where they take the syllabus of the country and basically break it down and make videos about every single topic and have little tests that you can make and so on, and you can teach yourself everything on there. And their mission is to provide quality education everywhere for free. But the coolest thing is, I think they also integrated it now with their own lab school, where they actually use that, but they focus also on connection. Basically, they are saying, hey, connection is the sense is one of the main core parts of education, and we try to use those computer tools to create more connection, and we can go to the individual to see where they're stuck and help them and help and facilitate peer-to-peer education. When you see that person is stuck there, but that person also already mastered it, they can instantly peer them up, and you have like this whole backend. So that is pretty cool. Then you all know, people that are nerds like me probably know about Elon Musk's school Ad Astra, but there's a new one, Astra Nova, where not new, but this year new, or last year. But it's amazing, and it's just now really taking up, which is basically where which is called Astra Nova. Ad Astra to the stars, Astra Nova, the new star. And they are basically trying to use the principles that they used at Ad Astra and apply them to Astra Nova and kind of create these super amazing educational experiences that are digital and that can be spread, which is really fascinating. And another really the fascinating thing is that there are VR schools now, and VR universities that are actually accredited, which is absolutely mind-bonkering. But the biggest fan is, of course, I'm the biggest fan of my own journey. I quickly have to check if, yes, ROMY SIGL is already there, just to see. I will put in ROMY SIGL, but after this segment. Wow, I do get distracted sometimes. Yeah, but the most fascinating work is, I feel like, done here at Heureka, here in this little room. And it sounds so freaking, it's weird to say it, but I really do believe it. And basically what we are doing, which is really, maybe I don't know about all the other places where this is happening, but number one, we are creating a system that is based on all these principles, and we are launching next autumn. I'm not absolutely sure if I am allowed to tell that in public. So next year. And then we so for one, I'm supporting this group that is creating, and we met just the last 2 days. We were in this deep discussions and reimagining it. And basically, it's now even more about connection and every person taking responsibility of their own. And it's so incredible. And I am really looking forward when I can talk about that, but I can tell you what I'm doing is I'm building the platform right now, and I'm already talking with different developer teams and getting estimates of how much it will cost and mapping it all out on paper. But what I'm doing is, number one, I'm creating a platform that will be free for all the education revolutionaries out there, everyone that is building on a new paradigm, because education revolutionaries are basically people that that don't just change education, because change we do in order to keep up the old paradigm, but actually rethink it on a new set of principles. And it's okay to have different principles if they are better than the old system, and if they're kind of on that standard of where we are right now. So I want to help all the amazing alternative schools, but more importantly, these new kinds of communities that we are creating, really, that and help them finance themselves. So the membership in one of these groups will be free, or even in those in your centers. I want to help make your life as easy as possible. If you're an education revolutionary and have any problem, do check the description and email me your problem. And I want to solve it, and I want to help you guys. I want to provide sort of a platform where you all can connect, where you can have liquid democracy, and where you can where you have access for free to share courses with all the other education revolutionaries, to share everything that you learned with all the others for free, and you get access to everyone else's for free, and you get access to the platform for freaking free. And people from the outside, anyone can buy any specific course or can buy from the platform, and then you as a center, or you as a school, as an alternative school, or you as one of those communities will get paid for it. And that is absolutely freaking incredible. And it's more than just courses. It's also about solving real problems. And I will create a platform where people from your community can admit and give you problems that you can solve as a group, and then learn how to solve problems as a group together, while also delivering true value and doing something that matters. And you can select the problem that you want to focus on, and all these amazing things. It's really freaking exciting. Now, I feel like we are freaking ready